Hi, we're going to put the actions and outlets example um, into stack views. So this way it'll lay out properly when we change orientations or change screen sizes. So right now, these are just dropped in position on the view. I'm going to expand some of the items here. I'll show you what happens when we change orientation. Things will get cut off. If I was to look at a large device, things would not expand. They wouldn't grow to fill the size of the device. And in class, I remember I had trouble with the slider. So the slider, when I looked it up after the fact, turns out it doesn't know how wide to be. So that's the step I was missing, and I need to pin that to the edges of the parent stack view. So let's see, which ones will I start? I'll do the horizontal stack views first. So I'll select the switch, put it into a stack view, stepper, stack view. The rest I'm just going to put into a vertical stack view. You can do more nesting of stack views. One of the nice things about that is it gives you individual spacing control, or there's some additional things you can change, parameters you can change on a stack view if you want to do more nesting, but I don't think it's necessary for this. So let's put these into a stack view. And the last thing to do, make sure your stack view is selected, because right now it's not pinned to the parent view at all. I'm going to have the same problem with it getting cut off. See this? You can see the squares representing the outline of the stack view. So we've got to pin it to the top level view. So let's use the TIE Fighter button. We're going to pin the stack view. So we've got 4 constraints that set it to the edges. And constraint to margins you can turn on or off. It doesn't matter for any of the purposes of the work we're doing. And when I add these, it did constrain it. It tells me that the frame that I see on the screen doesn't match what the constraints are, which is the orange warning lines that you're getting. So if I click on Update Frames, not too bad. Well, it's not going off the screen. So the next thing we'll do then is set the properties of the stack view up a little bit better. The alignment, well, let's just center everything. And fill's the one I recommend you use. So the fill distribution is trying to find one of these subviews to grow, to fill the space, just one. And if you think, certainly in my experience, that's quite often the case, is there's kind of one view that you usually want to grow to fill the space. You can also look at filling proportionally, which will allow more than one view to grow. But quite often you'll start with this one. And it's also nice because it's easy to set up the logic for. And what we have to do for this is look at these content hugging priorities and content compression resistance priority. So what it will do is it'll look for which view has the lowest hugging priority. And right now these will all be set to defaults. And then with the lowest hugging will be allowed to grow. It has no logic to know, like, probably want a UI view to grow more than you want the segmented control to grow. But it doesn't know that. It set up the segmented control to grow. So if I lower these, and sometimes it's just going down by 1. If it was more complicated, I mean, I could set these to any number, but being that the lowest default value will be 250 for everything, as soon as I drop these down, it allowed this to grow. So not too bad. Let's look at the orientation change. Not quite fitting in this orientation, and that's what this warning is probably telling us. Oh, before I go too far, I should probably set up. I remember there's a bug with the temperature slider. It needs to know that it's pinned to the left and to the right. So I prefer to do this on the document outline. I hold down Control, I click on the object, which I think I just missed. Let's try that again. Stop. I click on the object, and then I drag to the parent view. In this case, I want to pin the temperature slider to the stack view. So I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to pin the left side and pin the right side. Leading space. Let's do this pin to stack view, the trailing space. So I always check my constraints that get created. And where did those? Those are these ones here. Just to make sure that the constant, sometimes it's going to set this value to something else. And I know that I want it pinned right to the edge. This constant here is set to 0. If I increase the constant, that's how much spacing it is from that edge. So now it's pinned. Let me double check this again. It still doesn't fit. So it doesn't know. We haven't told it that this image view is allowed to compress. The number is too high. This compression resistance at 750. So the next thing we can do, because the first thing we do is lower the content hugging priority to allow it to grow in this view. And then often with the same view, when you're doing this fill distribution, you're going to want to, you might have to set it up that says you're also allowed to compress. So if we lower this compression, and actually I didn't have to, I mean, I could go to any number lower, but I lowered it enough and it looks pretty good. If I toggle between the two. And you'll notice I'm setting this all up on the iPhone 4S. So one of the things is to try to get it on these small screen sizes. Getting things to fit can be tricky. Here, let's run that. So, I mean, it's okay. The spacing is not great. I didn't set up the spacing on the stack view, which was back here. The spacing is set to 0. Obviously, a little bit of space would look nice.